Welcome to From the Ashes, the Dungeon Crawler Network podcast all about Ashes of Creation by Intrepid Studios. Bear witness to the rebirth of the MMORPG genre from the ashes of an industry that has left the gamers behind. I'm Aggelos, founder of the Dungeon Crawler Network, and we are all coming to you live from the Mighty Beard Tavern. And we have a full co-host today. Just like the whole tavern's full. There's an occupancy limit, and I'm pretty sure they're going to call the cops on us soon. Like, it's nuts. All right. Yeah, and I apologize for being a little late for those who are watching the live stream. It is all Hypercore Ripper's fault. Just so you know.
Absolutely. It's Ripper's fault. Everyone, blame Rip.
There you go. First off, we got Stormslord. How are you, sir?
Doing great this week.
Excellent. Alpha Soul.
I'm excited and happy to be here. Let's go.
Awesome. We have a returning face, Crowjack.
I am disappointed that I'm here, and I wish I was doing something else.
Well, speaking of being disappointed that you're here and wishing you're doing something else, we should probably mention that Crowjack is now going to be the permanent fourth host for From the Ashes. So, you really made a mistake, sir.
Apparently I did. Apparently
Mistake.
Apparently I've cemented myself in this seat, in this tavern. I have still not been served by our bartender and our waitress.
No.
I've been waiting for my beer for, 4 episodes now?
Yeah, no.
Still haven't gotten it.
This tavern just sucks, I gotta say.
Tavern sucks.
Yeah, there's like no one behind us. It's like, who's manning the bar? I don't know.
None.
No one.
Have you hid the sandal somewhere in the tavern yet?
You'll never know.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's somewhere there right now.
Maybe. We should do subliminal messaging like halfway through. At what point does it just appear on the screen real quick? Yeah. The sandal being called out. We also have a guest. Seymour, how are you, buddy?
Oh, hey. How's it going? I'm doing pretty good. Happy to be here, man.
Excellent. I'm glad we got you on the show finally. I know we talked about it for quite a while. And hey, we're here. Awesome.
Here we are, man.
All right. Well, we've got a fun show for you guys this week. We got a little bit of news to talk about that was leaked by Steven. And when I say leaked, I mean, is it really leaked when Steven does it? I don't know. Whatever. He just likes to throw images out there and calls people like a little bit of heart palpitations going, was this leaked? Can I talk about this?
He's so excited to share stuff. He always leaks things, even when he's not supposed to. He can't help himself. He's so excited.
Yeah. But then we as content creators then have to question whether or not we're allowed to talk about what was shown. Because it was like, did he mean that to be leaked? We're not allowed to talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway. All right. We also have that to go over, and one reason why I brought a lot of people on the show is we are going to talk about content creators in Ashes of Creation and how content creators drive the narrative of these types of games, especially as we've been moving into the more Twitch and YouTube era. I know we've been there for many years, but once upon a time that wasn't a thing. Now it is a thing. Does anyone remember getting old Nintendo Power, and that was kind of what drove your reviews?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love Nintendo Power.
PC Gamer.
Yeah, magazines and stuff.
Yeah, that's no long. That era is long dead, and now we're starting to see the rise of YouTube and Twitch people. And I hear a siren going off on someone. I don't know who that would be. I think it's
call the
Alpha.
police on me.
Alpha.
I'm good.
Definitely me. Sorry, that's definitely me.
Definitely Alpha. Sounds like he needs to mute his Discord. There you go. Mute your mic. There you go. I totally lost track of it because we had a siren going off in the background. Anyway.
We were talking about magazines and how they've gone out of style and they're no longer available.
It's not Vogue anymore, I guess. Is that
Nope.
Is it Vogue still the thing to say anymore? Probably.
You are totally dating yourself right now. You are aging yourself in front of me.
Beyond aging yourself.
Come on, Storms. Why do you think I keep you on the show?
Storms is smart. You just gotta let you go and run that and do it yourself.
No, I just
Stand back and watch.
I keep Storms on the show so that way when someone makes an age comment related, I'm like,
It's not against you.
It's
We're
not
good.
Storm, so. Anyway, that's what we'll be talking about tonight, talking about content creators and how they drive the narrative. But before we do that, of course, I got to give a shout out to our amazing people who support the network over at patreon.com/Dungeon Crawler Network. They support us each and every month and allows us to continue to bring you the podcast that you enjoy each and every week. They bring the torches, we bring the adventure, and someone brings the ale. Not the barmaid in the Mighty Beard Tavern, because she's nowhere to be found. So, hey, it's a thing. You can also leave us a review on iTunes, because that's a way people know that we are a real podcast, that we say real words, and sometimes they matter. We actually had a new review, and I'm trying to pull it up here on my device, because I should have had it up ahead of time, but of course I didn't, because, hey, why would I? Man, I hear frantic typing, too. Dear heaven. I'm looking at the guilty Crojack over there.
I'm pretty sure we know who it was.
Yeah. Wow, this is just a fun show today. There's some things I can remove from audio, other things I cannot.
Man, I'm just gonna have to go sit in a corner. Jeez.
Just don't move, don't breathe, don't. Do
It's the
anything.
news section. It's coming in.
All right. Yeah. So we had another review, and unfortunately, I still cannot find it because my stupid thing decided, hey, I'm gonna just rearrange how all reviews are shown, so show me reviews from like 3 years ago. I hate iTunes sometimes, and now I can see. Yep, there it is. Found it. This is from PD Marlowe on August. That's even longer than that. PD Marlowe sent us a 5-star review, which is amazing. And you know what? We're just gonna have to look at it later because I can't find it anymore. Because this is. Oh no, I found it! Dear heaven. Solid podcast for anyone interested in AOC from Swatch 83. Solid podcast for anyone looking for information on Ashes of Creation. I also appreciate that they brought on Crojack. This is obviously a plant.
Look at me. I'm innocent here.
This is a plant. Completely a plant. His streams and videos were what brought my wife and I to Ashes of Creation community, and I highly recommend his series, breaking out the game mechanics as a starting point for anyone looking to gain some insight into how the game is expected to be upon release. Keep up the great work, everyone.
What was the name?
Swatch 83 on iTunes.
Yep, nope. I had a couple ideas who that could have been, but that is not a name I recognize.
Like Record Ripper. Hey, that's my review.
Thanks, sweetie. I love you.
Yeah, sweet. All right, guys, let's go ahead and just jump right on into the news. First off, there were a few leaks on the Discord. We will have them in the description below for people to actually see. So if you want to find those links, you can actually look in our podcast description. But Steven started off with showing us the new... We determined it was a mount, right? Like it's a Griffon.
Pretty sure it's a mount. Pretty sure it's going to replace your Battle Royale mount that drops in, and then eventually in the MMO be a mount as well. That's what I think is going to happen.
Right. I feel like you... Who in this group has actually seen that mount? Anyone? Yeah, other than me.
Is it the Crow Griffon? Is that the one?
Yeah, it's the Moonlight
purple
Griffon.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's... Well, all right, let's step this back a little bit, because I will say I am a little concerned, and I brought this up in our Discord, and I'm going to point this out. Guild Wars 2 put mounts in place, too, which were great, because some of them had some of the best animations I think I've ever seen. And then you got something that was a bright pink galaxy of a Griffon mount in Guild Wars 2. I remember the first time I logged into, because they had them into the game originally, or not originally, but when they released Path of Fire, and you'd sign in, and you saw all these people in mounts. It was great, because they look realistic, they look cool, they had little bardings. It was neat. And then they released their lockbox mounts. And in these, you had all these weird, oh, dear heaven, it was crazy. First day I logged into Lion's Arch. I felt like I was going to have a seizure. Because of the amount of pink, sparkly galaxy griffins that were just floating around everywhere. This particular griffin tends to be black, but it has this weird blue highlighting on its wings and feathers, like an accent. It's not terrible, but I'm always worried when I start seeing them go the route of the super fantasy. Like, how much are you going to have to build on that each new one that comes out?
Yeah, you just want to make sure that it fits within the lore of the game and it doesn't go too cartoony or too out of place.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Kind
heard
of like Stufferton.
Yeah, it sounded like
Yeah.
Stufferton.
I was thinking
Let's see if that fits.
too much bling, too many effects have to load in with like dozen
Yeah,
people.
yeah, exactly.
Like seriously, for people who are interested, just Google or go on YouTube and look for the like. I don't even know how you want to even describe it, but like glowing mounts in Guild Wars 2, and there's probably gonna be someone with a video showing like 9,000 super sparkly mounts, and it literally feels like I'm on an acid trip. It's so bad. Oh,
And to address the concerns in the chat, because they see the animation of that flying griffin, and they're like, I thought there was no flying mounts in Ashes of Creation. Like I said, that flying animation you're seeing could either be a pet flying beside you, a small one, or B, be the gliding down animation of the griffin in the Battle Royale. All they have to do is take the skin, slap it onto a ground mount-like animation that is a simple gliding feature. They've mentioned gliding mounts in the MMORPG, and it could work. So that flying animation you see is not necessarily meant for the MMO. That skin could be slapped on another skeleton frame.
and this isn't even the first one that's even been released though, because 4 months ago, maybe a little longer, they released the Seymour. Do you remember what it was? I know it was like the knight armor they had on there, but it was like a hippogriff.
Right. Yeah. It was like a hippogriff. It armored. What was it called? Knights. Skies. Vengeance. What was it?
Vengeance
I
was in there.
remember.
Yeah.
Sky's
Yes.
Vengeance. sounds
Sky's
very
Vengeance.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I knew that same concern happened, like that what we're seeing in chat happened in, the Ashes of Creation community. People were like, I thought you said there's no flying mounts. And
Yes.
Steven had to come out and be like, no, it just glides. It hovers above the ground ever so lightly.
All right.
But
I want to know, if I jump off a cliff with a gliding mount, am I going to float softly down to the ground down there? I'm hoping. That'd be great.
I didn't even think about
That'll be
that.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're called gliding mounts. The thing has wings. If I jump off a cliff, it better be able to stop itself from plummeting to its and my death. It has wings.
It's going to be like, woo, just drop straight down.
Please no. Talk about realism. Please no.
It's either that or it tries
Yeah.
to fly, but it's like one of those cartoons where like Crojack is so overweight and the poor thing can't hold up. It just
Yeah, if I'm in full play and the thing can't carry me, you know what? Cool. I'm cool with that.
it just it cries a little bit and falls to the ground, gets crushed.
Oh, that's sad. Very unfortunate.
Crojack's sitting there going, I should have listened to C. Morgan, went on that no carb diet. Oh,
Yeah,
ouch.
Light as a feather.
Light as a feather. And again, we will have the link in the description below of this podcast when it goes live so people can view that video in and of itself. I don't have it up on the screen because so many of these things that were released were actually videos, and I'm not just going to throw that on here. The second thing we got was a little bit of a teaser of the new login screen for Apocalypse, which looks pretty nice now.
Yeah, it does look pretty nice.
That's nice.
I am really looking forward to that small little text right under or around server status. Patch notes.
Patch
yes,
notes.
please. Yes, please.
Right.
Oh,
Need that in my life.
I mean, for our own peace of mind, but also we talk about content creators in this podcast here. From the perspective of a content creator, being able to go through the patch notes and then present that to your audience and go, hey, here are the updates. Let's talk about this. What do we think about this? What do we think about that? That's useful content for us content creators.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even from the testing perspective, I mean, I think Aggelos has seen some of the bugs that I create for Ashes and the videos that I create for them. It's really helpful to actually have that information specifically there so you know what to test if they fixed it, and then if you can test the said fix. Without that, it's just kind of, chaos, basically.
That makes a ton of sense, too.
It really is. I am trying to actually find links to this, so I'm actually going to put someone else on this. How about I send... Seymour, you can find links for people in chat and post them here for us, if that'd be great.
Yeah, all right. That's it, man.
That way I can continue to lead the show while we go.
What's a link?
Oh, what's a link? Yeah. I trust my own crew, but, I mean, they don't even know where the mute button is, so... Looking at you, Alpha Soul.
Too low.
Poor Alpha
Low blow.
Indeed. So The thing that I'm most excited about, but I know that actually some people really got teed off about it, was they actually showed for Ashes of Creation Apocalypse the weekly quest and daily quest logs.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I like those. It's a reason to actually log in daily and work on them.
You know why people got mad? We talked about this in another episode. Fortnite. We talked about how people in the MMO genre don't like the Fortnite Battle Royale genre, especially Fortnite. And that daily and weekly questing is straight out of Fortnite. And you have a Battle Royale combat test. You've got all these Fortnite type quests. It further emphasizes people's fear that this company is going to shift to a Battle Royale thing because of money, and the MMO is going to fall to the wayside. So the more similar this thing is to Fortnite, the more terrified people become. That's what's happening.
I also think there's a little bit of a hate of dailies in general.
That too. Also true. Also true.
I like dailies, and let me make the argument for why I like dailies. The same reason that people hate dailies is one of the reasons why I like them. They feel like they have to come in and do them every day, hence the term daily. The thing is, if you're engaged in the community, when you go in there and do them every day, maybe pay attention to the guild you're in and like, hey, I'm here to do dailies. Anyone want to do something afterwards? Or you want to do it with me that leads to more stuff? When you don't have something to sign into the game to do, then we're seeing it already with the Battle Royale testing. How hard is it to fill a 100-man game on anything but the first day?
Impossible.
Yeah.
It does get pretty hard.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen because people are like, all right, I've played it. You know,
Not a lot of incentive right now.
Yeah, there's not. And that seems to be the problem that we're having, the incentive. And the worst part is we don't know a tangible way of getting rewards. Steven's already said that, yes, anyone who helps us test is going to get rewards. That's awesome. Cosmetics are a great way to get you into a game, to get you to work on stuff. It's amazing. I know I've been advocating this. I seen Arcaneer in chat. He's my co-host over at Tales of Tamriel, our ESO show. Years ago, we did an episode talking about how they get how they do PvP balancing. And there's a story here. We talked about they keep releasing PvP balancing live, and people are like, why are you doing this live? It breaks the game. You know, do it on PTS. And the developers are like, no one logs on to the PTS. How are we going to do these massive, you know, essentially castle sieges with hundreds of players when we cannot reproduce those same things? There you go. We talked about incentivizing the players. It's like, well, when a new patch drops, maybe offer some sort of cosmetic reward if they play X amount of hours, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something that gets people to test. Right now, we don't know anything about Apocalypse other than Steve said you'll get a reward. Well, is that for playing one game? Is it for playing 1,000?
And that's what those quests, that screenshot tells us, right? It was the reward was amount of experience based off of the quest, which means, I guess, once you reach either a threshold of experience or you can spend your experience to get these cosmetics to incentivize people to participate in the Battle Royale, that's very exciting.
Right. Now, we actually have Ashes of Creation in the chat.
1 million games equals cape. Well, then get the servers on, Charlie. I want my cape. Let's go.
We need to know.
We'd be playing right now, Steven, if only the servers were up. I mean, pretty sure there was supposed to be a test on Wednesday that never happened. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I seem to remember watching Crowjack stream, and the entire time people were like, is he going to play? If we find out from the devs if the game's going to be up, you know?
I was playing Sea of Thieves for 8 hours waiting for the announcement. Afterwards, I'm like, you know what, guys? It's been 8 hours. I'm going to bed. I'm done.
They're obviously not doing anything. We're moving on. Yeah. That's pretty neat. Pretty neat. Anyway.
They're working hard behind the scenes, guys. Don't worry.
And that's where patch notes would be great, because then we'd be able to actually quantify what they're doing.
Yeah.
All right. There was one more thing. What was the last thing we talked about prior to
We did the Griffon.
Yep.
We did the loading screen.
And
we
the
did
dailies.
the The dailies?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Now let's go ahead and move on into our discussion, which is content creation within Ashes of Creation. This actually came to us from one of my favorite content creators out there, Vox of V. He does these really great comics. If you've not seen him, I think we did a very early show showing off some of his artwork. He does the Antics of Creation comic strip. If you've not seen it, I don't even remember what episode. Just go through all of our episodes. There you go. Go through every single one of our episodes. It was more recent. And look through the show notes, and you'll see one of our community spotlights for Voxiv. It's really, really cool. But he sent this. He's like, so I don't know how this will work in particular, but it'd be great to discuss content creators as a general phenomenon and in respect to Ashes of Creation. Stuff like how content creators contribute to the bottom line marketing, their effect on the official forums. Note that these sections have a different, generally very positive tone. Secondary markets and related merchandise which spring up around successful franchises and establish customer loyalty. Actions like game modding, highlighting employment candidates for the studios, which we've heard examples of, and also how devs can directly contribute to the process with a simple in-game tools and awareness of creators. Lots of other little things. I also want to talk about how content creators are really driving the narrative for Ashes of Creation, because one thing that you may or may not know is that Ashes of Creation isn't really doing much in terms of marketing. And by much in terms of marketing, I mean literally nothing. They are relying on the content creators themselves to get out there. And I want to say, hey, Magic Man, thanks for the bits, man. Awesome. I saw that come through, and I'm like, I should say something about that, but I didn't. What are your guys' thoughts? Do content creators actually serve a purpose? Are they good or bad for the genre as a whole, and in particular, Ashes of Creation?
I will let someone else go first again.
All right. Double-edged sword, yes and no. It depends on whose it's coming from and more specifically what they're actually saying, right? I mean, let me play the good guy at least for a second here. The good thing about it is you get to see and get to hear more specifically player feedback from it, because we're all used to developer feedback. We're all used to feedback that comes directly from the company, and obviously it's going to be good. They're not going to say, they're not going to give you the real experience of a game, you know, the feelings of the game from day to day. It's just not going to happen, and that comes from content creators. So that's the good side. I'll leave it there.
Okay. Crowjack, I know, just go, bud.
All right. Well, I'm not going to... I know you guys want to talk about this from a content creator and how they affect the game, whether positively or negatively. I'm going to leave that to you. I'm going to talk about something completely different. I'm going to talk about this from the business's side, from the corporation side, the benefits of content creation. Because where the attention of the end consumer, where the eyes and ears of the end consumer are right now, is not in front of the TV watching a commercial when they can instead pull out their phone and go on Twitter or something else. It's not reading newspaper ads. It's not reading their emails. Their eyes and ears are in front of the screens watching their favorite content creators, looking at their favorite Instagram influencers, etc. So there's an underpriced attention with content creators. For example, here in the Ashes of Creation content creator community, the Ashes development team doesn't really have to fork over their own money right now to get content creators to bring this advertising to their audiences who are very influenced by those content creators, as opposed to spending millions of dollars for TV roll or radio ads or whatever else that people aren't paying attention to. So content creators and Instagram influencers are some of the most underpriced and underutilized advertising sources right now in the industry. And I think that this company, with their smaller budget, being an indie studio, is intelligently using this underpriced asset right now, as opposed to trying to pay for an expensive TV commercial that no one's going to watch short of a Super Bowl ad. Because the Super Bowl ads, everyone talks about those and everyone watches those. Other than that, not a lot of people pay attention to commercials anymore. That's what I want to say. I know you guys want to talk about different aspects of this topic. So I'll leave that to you guys.
I would be curious, just a real quick question. What was there any significant bump when World of Warcraft had their Super Bowl ad?
Very good question. Super Bowl ads I mentioned separately because everybody talks about them. You go on Twitter during a Super Bowl ad, people are on a buzz about those. So for some reason, that particular time slot is fantastic for commercials.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I said,
Yeah.
you're either going to fast forward past commercials if you've recorded it. You're either on Netflix or some other site that doesn't have commercials, or the last chance, if you can't reach the remote, you're pulling out your cell phone and you're reading something during a commercial.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
For the money spent and the attention you're getting, it's just not worth it in comparison to content creators or influencers.
Yeah.
Seymour, what about you, buddy?
Boy, so I've got a lot of different thoughts about this. So as far as can they hurt or not, I think one of the things you talked about was Angry Joe earlier. We talked about the situation with the Elder Scrolls Online when it originally had launched. And I had not even thought about this, but when Aggelos brought it up, I thought about it. I was like, oh my god, I remember that because he brought up it made this big stink, and so clearly if you have the larger your audience, the more impacting I think in a lot of ways you can be. And like Project said, a lot of individuals these days are looking to their peers, to their community leaders, to the individuals who are in charge of communities that are larger, that have an influence in the voice on digital formats like Twitch and YouTube, even Twitter, social media, stuff like that. So I think that's where the majority of the information is going to come from. It's not going to be like the big ads and things. Like I'm going to look for people on Twitch. I'm going to go Google things. My main thought is that from my perspective, and this goes to like the developers, if you're developing a game and you have individuals that are creating content, and it's something, these individuals are people that are creating content within your partner program, official content creator program, things like that. The real question and the real thing I think that's important to look at is if, what would you all say, like Project and Aggelos, what would you say is like our role as a content creator if we're official content creators for the program?
I'd say that our role is to present what we have in front of us to our audiences to the best of our abilities with the most accuracy as possible. That's, I think, what we're expected to do. Present everything we have, that we're allowed to present to the best of our abilities, accurately.
I see people laughing at me because I'm the only one in the tavern with an actual alcoholic beverage, and it's empty. Problem. No, I agree. We as content creators, we were chosen for a specific reason. Sometimes I'm not really sure what that reason is when it comes to some content creators, such as myself. I really don't know why Steven likes me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm very opinionated. Like, this is the one thing that I always look at from a content creation, and I'm hoping it's what they look at us about our show, is that it shows that we are passionate about the game that's coming, that Ash's creation. Now, I'm not going to sit here and white knight the game constantly. Right. He knows that. I've been vocal. I've messaged him a couple times going, dude, this sucks. He knows this. And for some odd reason, I'm still in the program, so I guess he hasn't officially kicked me out yet. But it's always coming from a position of, we want to see the game succeed. Because here's the thing. If I didn't want to see the game succeed, or if I hated the game, guess what? The show would be over.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know this used to be something, because I've been critical of the Elder Scrolls Online, which is another show that I do too. I'm 185 episodes in on that show. 185 weekly episodes.
Buddy.
Yeah.
People be like, if I do an episode on something that I'm not particularly happy about, I give my opinion, because that's what the show is. It's an opinion show more than anything. There's 100 different YouTubers, Crojack, Alpha Soul, who cover news, just news straight up. I don't do that. We're an opinion show. You come for our opinions, you think about it, you form your own thoughts, and you go forward. We want people thinking about the game. And I know I got a lot of feedback very early on from some of our viewers going, well, dude, if you don't like the game, why are you even playing? It's like, dude, I'm more dedicated than you are. Like, how long have you been here and been doing a weekly show? Like, the reason why we do it is we want to get people connected to the game. That's why I do this. It allows me to connect to you guys, my co-hosts, you guys, the greater community, and we can share a love of a product that we all have. It brings us together, and it's fun to talk about both the positives and the negatives. And I think that's what we do as content creators. We bring that aspect of ourselves and kind of marry it with the product a little bit, so you get a little bit of here and a little bit of ourselves at the same time, and we push that forward. We get the people hooked and keep coming back. That's what our job is supposed to be. Whew.
Yeah.
All right. I think I'm going to read that. Ashes of Creation. It's important to value diversity in opinion and presentation. If I only took white knights, then how could we illuminate player concerns during the creation of Ashes? One of the things I love is hearing differing opinions. I don't like yes men in my company or in my community. Well, there you go. That's why I'm still here. It has its downsides, but it also has its upsides. Just don't clickbait for the... I have never clickbaited. In fact, most of my titles are puns that don't even relate to what we're talking about.
And there's a difference between enticing titles and clickbait. Just want to make that very clear.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, mine are just crazy. And actually, what is the title we're going for this one? Driving the narrative is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's a pun based off the fact we're talking about community or content creators and how they drive the...
Now, Aggelos, one of the things I'm sure you wanted to hit on with that particular title was the narrative. So, a content creator, we have the power to shift the narrative and move the narrative. So let's talk about that. Most of us talk about the game in very positive light, but as you mentioned with ESO, there are people who can take that narrative and put it in the exact opposite direction, bash the game, point out all the flaws, point out all the faults, etc. And
Teacher,
is,
I have an example.
please, give us an example.
Okay, all right. This one's going to pour some salt in the wounds. Anyone remember that game called Bless Online and how a lot of the paid content creators were saying how amazing it was prior to launch? And then the second it came out and when everyone else could talk about it, it went, this game sucks.
And that gets to the exact point I wanted to get to. The market gets to decide. The market gets to decide. It doesn't matter if I make a video completely bashing this game and bashing it as hard as I can. If the game is good, people are going to look at my video and go, dude, you're totally wrong, and then completely ignore me. The market will decide based on how good the product is at the end of the day, and that's what matters.
I agree with that somewhat, but there are people who will take the words of certain content creators, like Angry Joe,
and not give the game a chance.
As gospel, yes. They look at it and went, nope, Angry Joe says it's bad. And I'm not calling out Angry Joe for anything. I actually like his stuff. So, he has a shtick. It's really cool. I like it. But there are certain people who will listen to his stuff without trying it for themselves and go, if he says it's bad, it is bad for the end of time. I still have people, when they ask me about Elder Scrolls Online, they still, like, years later, are like, is it still as terrible as, it was when Angry Joe did a review? I'm like, that was 4 years ago? No, they don't. No, they still use that as a defense. They will not even give it a shot.
You can't help those people. And it's unfortunate that they don't want to think for themselves and they missed out on the opportunity to possibly enjoy something. That's their fault.
And Ark in your chat says, I have friends come up to me years after launch of ESO going, dude, ESO sucks. Everyone says it, by looking at reviews from launch month.
The funny thing about this conversation is this is echoing pretty much what's kind of going on in the overall gaming community, right? Yeah. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but there's a pretty good discussion between Yong and Jason Schreier from the Kotaku website, talking about pretty much this exact same issue. It's essentially content creators on YouTube specifically, and personalities versus the actual editorials that are present within websites. Basically, it's fascinating. If you guys haven't checked it out, I would check it out. But this is the exact same argument that's kind of going on within the world.
I imagine the editorial side would be a little annoyed that the YouTube side has so much power and sway.
Yep.
If I had to guess, I haven't read the articles. I'm just guessing that's what it's going to be. Because the editorial guys put a lot of work into it, and they try to be critical and try to be neutral. But the YouTube community is all about passion and enthusiasm one way or another. So I imagine the editorial side does not like how much sway and power the YouTube side has over the masses.
Crojack,
Say something.
Crojack. You and I have talked about this on your own stream already.
Oh yeah,
Negative sells.
it does.
Yeah.
It's true. I can make the beautiful happy puppy videos, and those do pretty well. But man, if I start making videos about how this sucks and that sucks, and here's why, the clicks are insane.
Yeah.
But
It's just reality of life.
and that's the thing when content creators can drive the narrative like that. There are that's why Angry Joe, his shtick works. People love seeing the animation, the anger. That's what they're driven to. Why, if someone's doing it only for the click, and that's sort of the problem with certain content creators, they're doing it for a job. And I mean, we have people here who do this for a job. I'm not one of them.
I am.
Yeah, Crojack is. You have to look at your bottom line. It's like Crojack can. I'm going to use Crojack because I can. He can make a video. He loves Ashes of Creation. He makes a happy video. He gets 5,000 views. His family doesn't eat. You know, like.
It's true.
Or I could say something bad about it and get 1 million views, and guess what?
Funny you should mention that. Quick aside, I do a lot of positive content. And in my positive content in the comment section, I'm constantly bashed about being a white knight. I am a self-professed white knight. That's what I am. That's who I am deep down. I can't change my DNA. I make one piece of content, right? Judge a piece of footage pretty critically. I get lambasted, completely destroyed in my comment section. And I'm like, what do you guys want? You say I'm way too white knight and happy, and then I'm a little bit critical, and I get completely put under the ground.
It happened, like I told you earlier. People are asking me, like, what, you don't like the game anymore? Why are you still doing a show about it? I'm like, it's one episode. I've done one negative episode out of 100.
Yep.
Yeah.
However, we talk about the narrative, we talk about negativity selling. It is possible, if the product is good enough, to overcome that.
Yes.
Sure.
The best products will just overcome that completely. Think about some of the best companies in the world.
But
Go ahead.
But let me throw a caveat, and I know where you're going with this.
Sure.
A lot of the times, these places that come out, despite the fact that they're good or bad, like some of these games that come out with good or bad, and they still do well. Like, I still have no idea how half of the Assassin's Creeds sold as many as they did, only because they have the marketing power to, you know, even if someone's like, it's bad, yeah, well, people's memories are short, and guess what? The Google ad buys are much stronger than, I guess I've not bought that. Ashes of Creation doesn't have that. One
Absolutely
negative
not,
review will hurt a lot more than a Google or an Amazon, or, you know, like a big producer game studio who can then just blast you with ad buys. All right.
That's very true.
No, that's I was hoping someone would jump on that, but you know, like,
I would love to argue with you. I'd love to, because that's what I do. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to counter you all the time, every chance I can get. But
that's why I brought
you
you
make
on.
a lot of common sense there. It's not like we have a massive marketing budget, nor do we have a massive base audience to work off of. The Assassin's Creed series has a massive base audience they've built up over time through some of their good games and some of their not good games. And they'll continue to succeed so long as they don't make total garbage, because of that massive audience they've already pre-built. Same with Call of Duty, same with World of Warcraft, etc. We don't have that luxury here with a brand new startup company with a brand new startup product. So we have to make sure that we put our best foot forward and get this off the ground, hopefully fairly well. The 700,000 registered users, that's very encouraging. The 40,000 financial backers, that's also very encouraging. So hopefully we can continue some momentum here and build that base so that if you do see those negative reviews, it's not completely game changing.
Yeah.
We hope.
And I see Mr. Powers D in chat has mentioned this at one point in time. He's like referring to negative players who would take the content creator's word as gospel and then never play the game. Would you want those people playing your game? The people who won't look into it for themselves? Yeah, you do, because they're still paying for it. And hopefully at that point, maybe realize, X viewer was wrong and the game actually is good. With larger games that do a couple things, you also have to look at it when regards to Ashes of Creation. Ashes of Creation has a few things going against it currently. One, Kickstarter. We are in the post golden age of Kickstarter. Star
There's a
Citizen
stigma there.
has destroyed it for everybody at this point. Okay?
Yeah.
As much as we all believe in Steven does have a reputation, which it's actually really funny. I was listening to an Arcade podcast way back when, just because I had nothing else to listen to, and this was way ago, and I actually messaged Steven about it because someone brought him up of being the guy who paid for all of his Ed stuff. He's like, yeah, there's some like really rich guy who just like can afford to buy everything, so he like outfits his entire guild. And I'm like, I know exactly who that is. They're like,
I wonder.
Mention it was funny. So we have that. And you know, obviously when the game first came out, he was attacked pretty heavily, but that happens. It's the same issue is happening with Pantheon and Brad McQuaid and his drug issues. I mean, no, sorry. For anyone who doesn't know those histories, we have that.
Yeah.
We also have the problem of no box sales. No box sales. Regardless of if someone picks up your game or not, you know, the sub is great, $15 a month, but if they stop, it's 15. People who buy the box sale plus a sub, that's a lot of upfront capital
Yes, that makes sense.
that they are not going to have. And I see Steven in chat going, hey, success brings hate and rumors. I hear you, buddy. I hear you.
Enough, man.
But
Well,
you're getting significantly less money than World of Warcraft, for instance. Anytime they release an expansion, it's $60
Yep.
plus a sub fee. Even the Elder Scrolls Online, even though they're buy to play now, they still are getting, anytime someone buys one of their expansions for $60, if they have 1 million players, that's a lot of funding money, even if they don't come back after a week.
To counter that one part of the argument, the most successful games right now, free to play, cosmetic store. They're the most successful games right now. So the bar to entry in this MMO with no box cost is a whole lot lower.
Yeah, but a lot of those super powerful, you know, free to play games are they encourage the pay to win aspects. Let's not argue that.
Or really nice cosmetics.
Or they're like Fortnite, a quick get in, get out kind of game. MMOs aren't that way though.
True.
Fortnite is a weird thing. Most free to play MMOs are dead in 3 months.
That's true.
Bless Online. Hey, guess what? No. Arcade.
So I wonder-
No.
Can this be some nice middle ground? We mentioned free to play is just completely failing. This isn't quite free to play, nor is this the full on box cost. Is this squishy middle a nice place to sit? Has anyone ever tried to sit here before? Do we know?
No.
I don't think anyone has
done this.
Not like this.
We're
like this.
having a new trail here. I'm very curious to see how this
Yeah,
turns out.
Yeah, me too.
Not like, okay. Games have done this now, but it's years after their heyday. I think Ultima Online is still a sub game.
Right,
And you could
so you had the initial
Yeah.
box cost at first, but after a while, they're like, all right, free to play because no one's buying the game.
World of
anymore. That's what
Warcraft
you
at that point, I think, is more or less getting rid of their expansions too, where you
Yeah.
can start playing. It's only the later. But the argument is they didn't start that way. It's only after
Right.
15, 20 years that th're now finally going, all right, let's not throw a box cost on top of this. Let's just let anyone who pays the sub do their thing. Dark Age of
Yeah.
Camelot's that way now too. But again, these are 17-year-old games.
Absolutely.
know.
Absolutely.
So I agree with the free-to-play model is pretty popular. Lineage 2 launched with no box cost sub. Are you sure about that, Steven? I'm not sure that's
All right.
correct.
I'm hitting the archives.
Hit that
All
one
right,
before.
yeah.
Punch that one into Google.
Yeah, Recon Live, thank you for the sub, man. No, you know, Steven, I'm going to dig through my old game boxes. I swear I have a Lineage 2 game box sitting there that I had to buy. I'm going to find it, and I'm going to send it to you, and you have to sign it and say I was wrong and send it back to me. All right, good. I'm positive that there was a box, especially early on. Maybe not in the later expansions, but I'm almost positive there was a box. Oh, deal. You guys saw that, right? He said, yes,
Confirmed.
I'm finding that box.
In before, that's actually Jeff, and he just got Steven into a bet.
Doesn't
what
matter.
happens? What if Steven's right though? What if Steven's right? How's that work in
Well,
reverse?
apparently I don't lose anything at that point.
Well, I don't know about that.
Come on, Steven.
You'll have to see.
What's the reverse deal here? Let's make a deal.
I thought it was that Stufferton's mount that I'm not allowed to switch anymore because that's where we currently were. I think the last time we looked, it was the Stufferton's mount with a sign on the back that said I was wrong and I'm not allowed to switch any other mounts. That's
I love it.
Oh, Tree found the box.
Lenny, did you find it, Ripper? Because if you found that box, that's awesome. All right, let's move on here through some of this other actions like game modding, highlighting employment candidates for studios. I've actually heard of this several times where game developers will pick up some of their content creators and actually hire them. I don't want to mention a name, but I know one right off the top of my head. They were doing a lot of Guild Wars 2 content. Now they work for Ubisoft, I believe.
I can't speak for every content creator, but I can speak for myself and say that would never happen. From my own perspective, because I love the freedom of being a creative entrepreneur. I love not having a boss. I love not working for anybody. So maybe there are some content creators who have jobs on the side. Aggelos, you love your job.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to leave your job.
No.
But if you were offered a job at Intrepid that paid you more in a field that you would enjoy, I could see someone like you jumping on that opportunity. But there are content creators who love the freedom, and I don't think would necessarily want to do that.
I literally just got promoted this week, too. So.
Yeah, you were just saying you just got a promotion. So.
Yeah.
It depends on what you're what the content you're creating is.
True enough. True enough.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, but I feel like a lot of content creators, one of their things they want to do is actually hop into the MMO space, or not MMO space, but game development space. So that's something going forward.
Yep.
From a go ahead, Albert.
Personally, I don't. I content create, and I have no interest in jumping into the industry that I content create. Right. So my bigger channel is a fragrance channel, and I have had zero desire to jump into the fragrance world. Same thing with gaming. I enjoy gaming. I love gaming. I love MMOs, but I would never want to actually work for it or work in the industry.
I manage people for a daily job in the IT sector, and I thought to myself, maybe I should apply for that CM position at Intrepid. And then I immediately shot myself in the foot when that was the dumbest idea I've ever had. Sorry, not going to happen. He couldn't pay me enough for that job. I'm out. I'm totally out on that one.
That's going to be a tough one.
Establishing customer loyalty. If you have a content creator, again, this goes back with what we were saying earlier. This can either be positive or negative. But if you have someone who, Crojack, the White Knight, who has a large following, you can get people into a game despite its flaws or not. Like,
Absolutely.
Honestly,
I have audience members who have never played an MMO, and through my content are like, wow, I'm interested in trying this out. Especially if you have an audience that's passionate about the content creator, or you've developed a relationship over the course of years, right? You can really help to influence and sway those who've never tried an MMO if you've built that relationship. So that there's some major power there from the perspective of a content creator or of a company wanting to harness content creators and their passionate audiences.
right.
Absolutely, that.
I actually see Treddy 1983 chat says Path of Exile hired a guy who made content for their game, the dev from Path of Building. Well, there you go. I mean, that's when you have the ability to mod like that. Well, I know people who've been modding for like Skyrim and Fallout and stuff. They got hired by Bethesda because they essentially modded Skyrim and said, here's my resume. This is what I did.
Yeah.
There's a difference between content creator like on YouTube versus content creator creating mods. There's a different way that's approached. I don't think they're gonna look at content creator on YouTube and say, let's hire this person. Right? That'd be marketing. That wouldn't be a developer, right?
The person building a YouTube channel is building a brand.
All right.
Yeah.
That's true.
As opposed to the mod creator that's looking to make a portfolio of the work that they've done.
I'm going to throw out a name here, and I'm sure probably most of you guys know this name. Stephen Frost. WildStar.
Oh yeah.
That man was insanely charismatic, and he drove people to WildStar.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the WildStar didn't hold up its end, obviously.
At the end of the day, the product matters.
It does.
Absolutely.
And I see Arcaneer says, I agree with Aggelos. Thanks, buddy. I've seen so many content creators go the way of community management, etc. for companies, because this is what we tend to do. We tend to be upfront. We're already face-to-face with the community itself, so why wouldn't we jump into one of those more community manager-type roles?
Yep.
You know? Falling into that. And, Stephen Frost. I don't know. Whatever. Stephen Frost. I could picture his face, but I just know that he was a guy. They put him out on every single one of the videos. And, like, I could see Crojack doing that. Like, hyping. No, just saying. Just stop it.
Maybe an alternate universe me, possibly.
Alternate universe, but someone with your energy would be able to.
Someone with my energy, sure. For sure.
I would definitely fit more in the community management side, but it would have to be a harder community than this one because I would ban Hammer like crazy.
Right.
I would if you put kitty gloves on me, that's not going to happen. So
you can't harness Aggelos. There's no muzzle for him.
Nope.
Can't
You just
harness.
release me and just let me go. By the time you're done, your 20,000 Discord server has 3 members left. That's it.
Sorry.
That's what happens when you let me loose. All right, guys. Any final thoughts on this before we kind of wrap up? I definitely want to bring it back to Ashes. Let's go around and make sure, is Ashes doing a good thing? Is it utilizing its content creators effectively?
I'll let someone else answer first again as well.
Storms, what about you? We haven't heard
So
much.
I think they are. I think they're being effective with it. I think they're working well with it. In this period of time, they're using what they have for the best way they have. That may have been different 20 years ago, maybe different 20 years from now, but for now, they're doing the right thing.
Interesting. Alpha.
Before we had this conversation, my answer would have been no, that they're not. But I think it was finally coming to realize, based on this conversation, that they actually haven't really done any advertising or spent any advertising dollars, and all of this is seemingly through word of mouth, through YouTube and everything like that. Where I realized that actually this is actually a pretty good thing, considering. So thumbs up from me.
All right. I'm skipping Crojack. Samorg, how about you, buddy?
So I think at this point in time with where the game's at, I think that they're doing a lot more than most gaming studios probably would, as far as, because usually I wouldn't expect to see any kind of type of content creator team put together as far back as this one was. So I feel like they're doing a pretty good job of supporting and trying to find ways to kind of drive that there is a team home and stuff. My one criticism would probably be more so not really even towards the studio per se, more so just towards kind of an atmosphere of, when you talk about driving the narrative home. I think the primary concern that I've actually got, it's one that I've seen resonated with a handful of other people too, is that if you do have this official content creator base and you do have just a grand scheme of content creators that are creating content for the game, if right now the information and what the game is supposed to be is we're working towards the MMORPG. Sure, the original plan with the current testing environment was this is a BR version. We're going to test stuff in. Now it's going to be a battle royale situation where we're going to take this component. We're going to take Castle Sieges. We're going to take Horde mode. We're going to put this all into Ashes of Creation Apocalypse. We're going to have this little thing off to the side. While I support that and I'm good with it, I think that the primary thing I'm seeing is like, you've got content creators, and I wish I could say that it was in the official content creator group too, but you've got the individuals going, is this Ashes or Fortnite? And if part of your duty is, a little bit more differently than that, if part of your thing is like, hey, what our plans are with the game, and we really would like you to try to promote getting this correct information out there, but then you've got individuals who are really undermining the game's development and undermining like its potential progress, and that's kind of part of the purpose that you could see them kind of adhering to. I think then at that point, is it censorship to hold them accountable, or is it just accountability? I think that's something that I feel like it's pretty important question to really kind of look at.
Well
Yeah,
said.
and we talked about the negative
Yeah.
aspects, getting lots of views and clicks.
Yeah.
That's why those content creators are doing that.
Oh
They
yeah.
just want
Oh
the-
yeah. Of course. Of course.
Crojack.
Okay, so I'm never gonna get another chance to say this, so I'll do it here. How the content creator program is being held right now, given that this is one of those few MMOs that's letting us make content and create content and to push out content on such an early game, that's amazing. I'm very appreciative of that. The content creator program, as it is right now, is pretty good. Sadly, we don't have enough in our hands to really present to our audiences, so we're scrambling for information. Once we get to the first stage of the real MMO alpha, I feel there's going to be so much information, I'm not going to have enough time to do it all. So that's awesome. What I want to see, and this is the crux of the conversation I want to have. What I want to see in the future, as the game development goes on, you focus on the game's development, you get the game released, you get it stable, you get it going. I would love to see some attention given to the content creators in terms of additional support above and beyond what we have right now. A couple of examples. If this game has a launcher, a desktop launcher, Battle.net does this fantastically. We're on their launcher. They'll sometimes advertise specific content creators or streamers to help give them awareness. You don't have to do that for the big guys. You can do that to some of the smaller guys. I know we have a fair few of small content creators here in this program who would benefit greatly from that. You can do things like partnering with Twitch to do things like Twitch drops, where people who view those content creators of that game can earn drops, cosmetics in the game of that they're watching. That kind of support I would love to see this company do, though I understand that's definitely down the road, not a huge priority right now. Get the game out first. But a year, 2 years after release, get those things in there. Get that kind of support to your content creators who are providing you with this amazing opportunity of really close to near free advertising. That's what I would love to see.
I'm going to argue that.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, no.
Let's go.
This is the problem. And this is coming from somebody who's in the program. Okay, so I'm going to make it. I actually think the content creator program itself is neat in that it will help grow a certain audience base to help the people who are very passionate. They're finding the people who are passionate, right? Which is good. They're finding the people who actually want to do this. They're not, well, I'm hoping that what they're not doing is they're just going out there and finding people with a ton of views, because you know what's going to happen. You're going to get the people with 100,000 followers. When the game comes out, they'll be here for a week, and that's what they're gone. Yeah. It happens every time. I know some people are like, well, I'm going to be streaming it a lot. And I'm like, that's great. It really is.
Now.
But don't expect a lot of views the first couple weeks, because you're going to have the big guys in here.
Oh, yeah. This is a long-term play.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Investment.
Massive long-term play for this. I actually do not like the idea that Crojack presented with the launcher thing. How much hate did Steven get when the first day he started putting out in the news that people were going live when they let a few of the content creators in?
People are going to hate things?
I agree.
Always.
I agree. But I don't think you should actually penalize the people who are trying to help your game out, regardless of the fact that they were not picked or not. You know what I mean? Like, I get some people are picked. It's great. But there's other times where people are like, they haven't been picked in, and they do feel a bit jaded. That's where we start seeing negative reviews going forward, that these people are just company shills. I see that a lot in some games that only work with affiliated creators, that the affiliated creators start getting the company shill type title put on them, and it actually hurts the game overall, because then they're always paid to do this. Okay, you know, that's what I'm seeing it. The problem also with the content creator side is I don't think anything that the content creators have outside of some of the perks they have for doing stuff weekly should not be exclusive just to a content creator group, right? Like, if we're getting news for other people, that is not something you want to do. You want to get that out so everyone can have it, can gain access, and can do the stuff that they want to do to help promote the game. When you limit it to a specific group of people, it actually hurts more than, grows your product. So that's my issue with content creator programs, even like the one that I'm in, is the fact that people start looking at the people in the program as company shills and not just passionate gamers. And in some cases, they are company shills. They are paid for their stuff. We're not, but they're paid for their stuff, and it's reflected in the content that they release. We've obviously seen that with Bless Online when they flew out a bunch of people, and guess what? They were only allowed to talk about things that were really good, and it had to be thrown, they had to show the stuff ahead of time to make sure it was okay to say. I can tell you I was invited. I said no. I said, no way. I'm not coming out to that, because they're like, yeah, you'll review it. You'll tell us that, and then you'll present it to us, and we'll tell you if you can put it out. I'm like, so if I say it's bad, you're not going to let me put it out? Well, yeah, we're not going to let you put it out.
You covered a bunch of topics there, and I'm trying to think about the one I wanted to talk about, but you covered so many different things. I'm going to go back to the first part of your rebuttal there, and I'm going to focus on that specifically, because what you said later made a lot of sense. I'm going to go back to the first one. One thing I've learned in life, one thing I've learned in the years of content creation, and one thing I imagine CEOs of companies also have learned, is that you cannot concern yourself with the opinions of everybody. However, you also have to concern yourself with the opinions of everybody, and that's such a hard thing to balance. If people want to call a content creator a shill, or to critically judge their content, or critically judge their game, etc., you have to ignore that white noise and keep pushing forward with what you believe is good. If there are some who would get jealous because a random person is selected to be on the launcher as a streamer, I'm not referring to myself. I keep talking about people who are much smaller than me.
Sure.
If there's jealousy, you have to tune that out. If there's criticism, you have to tune that out. If you as a content creator is called a shill or a white knight, you have to tune that out. You can't survive in this industry if you don't. And that's very important. I believe, Stephen, leaders of CEOs, fantastic English. Did you hear that? That was fantastic, I have to say.
Yeah,
CEOs have to keep that in mind as well. Yeah. You can't just make decisions that could leave and have some good just because there'd be some backlash. But now, the last half of what you said, there were some really good things there.
No, I'm more just for the idea of equality side of it. And not just, like I said, this is coming from somebody who's in the program.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm on the outside going, it's not fair, I'm not there. It's more of... What?
I cannot remember an instance where in this particular content creator program, we have received information that we weren't allowed to share with others ahead of everyone else.
No,
right.
I can't think of a situation where that's occurred yet.
No.
I don't think so, but I know specifically there was a lot of hate considering the fact...
Again, that is the kind of hate you tune out as a content creator.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how much you reason with that hate.
As a content creator, I agree. As a content creator, I agree. I don't think you can do that as a company. You don't want to turn off potential customers. That's the thing. Content creators, yeah, go ahead. Whatever. Screw it. We're fine with that. I get hate comments all the time. I don't really care. You know what? If you don't like my show, go listen to something else. Whatever. Yeah. I do it for the fun of it. If you don't like it, well... I was about ready to flip them off, but this is a family show. I'm not going to do that because I'm a good boy. I'll just drink my empty drink.
Empty.
I can't speak from the perspective of a CEO of a big company.
No,
I have no knowledge there. But I don't know how much they have to pander to everybody and try to please everybody. I don't know how smart that is. I don't know how good that is. Right. Again, I don't come from that world, so I can't speak on that. Okay. I'd love to hear the opinion of the CEO.
It depends on their balance and what they're trying to look at. There are key people that CEOs listen to.
Yeah.
They may be just everybody. There may be special voices. There are key indicators that they get monthly, if not daily, of what they need to look at in their industry, and they know which ones to watch. So some they can ignore. Some they can't.
So they're not really looking at the verbal feedback or the written feedback. Are they looking more at like sales? Are they looking more at like that kind of stuff? How are they making these kinds of decisions?
All of it, right? So they have to have groups of people that bring ideas to them with regards to sales, with regards to opinion, with regards to member, affiliate, or whatever. So it depends what their key indicators are. Their industry will have that laid out. And they have to watch those
differently, right?
Dude,
you gotta balance those through.
Steven stole my thing. Don't you all have phones? Come on.
No. Well played.
I was holding my tongue. I was raising my hand, and he stole it.
There's an example of maybe a decision that was numbers based and not community.
Was it?
Based.
Was it?
I don't know. I'm not in their heads. I don't know what they're thinking.
I have one more example to throw in.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And again, we're gonna go back to a game that's dead. Well, actually, dead in 5 days. WildStar going down once again. The idea of, you said pandering to a bunch of people. When WildStar was first announced, it was actually described as something completely different than what it came out to be. When they started going for the hardcore is all aspect, and I like hardcore gaming, so I didn't fault them for that. The problem was some of the long-term followers were like, but this isn't the game you described when it first was coming out.
That's awkward.
You shifted to a hardcore is all, and anyone that wasn't got shouted down by not only the hardcore community, but the community managers themselves.
Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty big.
That's an aspect of when you ignore a portion of your community. Guess what? They didn't come back. So you had the hardcore gamers who were like, yeah, this is ours, the 5% or whatever. And
That's
then
an example.
they went in, and then they went, oh, there's not enough content, and they stopped playing. And guess what? There's no casuals there to play anymore anyway. And guess what? The game is closing down in 5 days.
Yeah. That's an example of what I was talking about, taken to the extreme. Right? Where you put the blinders on, you ignore everyone and go, la, 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 we're going this way.
But it
Because
happened.
you can't be hardcore.
I
But
know
they
it.
didn't know the key indicators. That's where you have to be careful. In each position, each industry, you have your key indicators to watch. If you watch the wrong thing, you're gone.
And that's just it. I know you said that it's an extreme example, but it's an extreme example that happened.
Yeah.
It's not even a hypothetical. It happened.
And that WildStars are not the only one that it happened to. Remember Shadowbane? They did the exact same thing with just PvP and conquering, basically. Exact same thing. Didn't have a population to sustain itself because they drove out all of the other groups that they were not focused on. And guess what? Game dies.
So usually you're going to have yes men behind the top person when that happens.
Chad actually makes a valid point. That particular instance is not necessarily about ignoring or not pleasing people, but that's not knowing your target audience or choosing a specific target audience that's too small and not able to support your game.
Okay.
That's a good point.
That's fine. Let's take it back to content creators. Choosing a specific set of content creators.
Ooh, actually, yeah, this is a good conversation.
You know what I mean? Like you just said, focusing on a very specific type of content creator or content creators that may or may not end up being disenfranchised with your game or even leaving. And then guess what? You're left with nothing.
So here's a policy that I'm hoping is kind of instituted. We have no evidence on this yet. We'll see. Letting people into the content creator program with good intentions, that's fantastic. But if they don't follow through, if they get bored of the game after a week and they stop making content, don't keep them in the program.
Sure.
Right.
Actually fire people who are bad at their job. If this is a job or treat it like a job and you were not able to do your job, fire the person. Hiring is fine. Hiring is pretty easy to do. Everyone always puts on their best face and, I'm a fantastic employee. But once they get doing the job, you start to realize, are they a good employee or not? And if they're not, you fire them. How is that going to work in this content creator program? We're not sure. We don't have a game to play. And therefore, we haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm curious to see how the developers are going to approach that a month, 2 months, half a year after release. If somebody's not making content on the game, if they haven't made a content in 3 months, 4 months, what do you do?
Hopefully they have that planned out.
Hopefully they have that
They do.
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen.
That's pretty. It's kind of like a healthy standard for any content creator program. I've been in a couple. That's I mean, that one's like if they're not productive or active, I mean, they're not.
And once I guess you just put it in the print, the fine print. Make content once a week. Pick a guideline.
Yeah.
And if you stop after a period of time, we are allowed to cut you out of the program. Just put that in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out that we've done a weekly episode for over a year now. Since before the game was really... No. I mean, we are on episode 70. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Totally.
You know how hard it is to pull a topic out of your butt each week when there's so little stuff to go... Yeah,
it is an interesting
exercise. Some Org knows
I do.
this.
It's not always easy, man. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just trigger me, and we'll argue back and forth for 2 hours.
Just trigger.
Okay.
here's
We had his triggers listed.
here's
We're
a
good.
fun
My
thing.
list of things that will set me off.
Oh yeah,
Hit one of those every other week and be
Yeah, there you go.
I have it sitting here next to my screen of things to say. Just
You've been
to-
in my streams enough. You've heard me rant on certain topics.
Oh yeah, no, I know. That's why I have it right here next to me. It's great. Wow, but yeah, no, it's been an interesting journey, especially early on
Hell
like
yeah.
this. But the main reason why I know I, as a content creator, continue to do this is because I want to continue to get people involved. I know that's a problem with these not early access. That's a bad word. I shouldn't say
Yeah,
that.
that's different kind
Yeah.
of.
With
Early
these
stages.
early stage games is the fall off. People get hyped,
Yep.
and then nothing
Well, that's
happens, and they fall off. Our goal, I'm sure everyone here who does content creation, I mean, everyone here's on this show is either doing content creation on their own or with me, each and every week. We do this to keep the community engaged, right? That's why I do it.
Yep.
Also, yeah.
It's fun for us to do, and it keeps people connected to Ashes of Creation each week. Because I have people who listen just to this show because they're like, yeah, I mean, I can't be bothered to go into the official Discord for the random bits of news that happen once in a while. I listen to you guys. I still get connected to the community. I get information on the news, and I get your bloated opinions as well. That's taken with a grain of salt, but
Yep.
you know,
Every content creator here and in the program have their own passions, their own reasons for wanting to be a content creator. You mentioned wanting to unite a community, right? That's your passion, your reason for being a content creator in this particular industry. I bet you Simurg has his own reason for wanting to be a content creator in this particular industry. What is your reason, Mr. Simurg? This is your opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, community. Yeah, I think it's the one thing that's been missing from the MMORPG genre for a long time. It's we've gotten pushed into the narrow bottleneck where it's all about, let me hop on the game and queue up for things, not explore it and link up with our other people that are out there. And yeah, all about community, man.
No, I agree with that. That's a big sentiment for us as well. I miss the days of needing people to do things, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. And I noticed that people are here to see me drink alcohol. Well, then go get me a new one.
Where's our serving lady?
The bar
Rick-
wench is not doing a good job today.
Rikun in chat, he's a new serving person. Get behind that bar, sir, and get us some alcohol. All right?
Yeah.
I've only had one, and these gentlemen are thirsty. All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. And this is the fun part. This and why I loved having people on this show. Thank you, Simorg, and of course Crowjack, who's now a permanent part of From the Ashes. So yay! And of course my returning guest. Oh, or not guest. My goodness, my returning co-host Alpha Soul and Storms Lord for being here each and every week. There was actually 2 topics planned for tonight, but guess what? We went overtime on this topic like we said we would.
Yep, I told you. I warned you.
That's a good feeling. That's a good
Yeah.
feeling, because then that's one more topic that now I can save for a later episode, so I don't have to think of something else. Yeah, I like it. Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and let people know where they can find you guys. Let's start with our guest, Simorg.
Oh, thank you. Simorg, I'm a content creator for Ashes. You can find me on twitch.tv, Simorg, Simurgh, just like it's spelled down there. And you can catch me on YouTube, and Twitter is actually Lord Simorg, but those are the 3 main domains on me.
There you go. And Crowjack gets another week of saying where he gets to go because I haven't put him in the show note description yet as a permanent host. Because we only determined that this was going to happen this week. So eventually I'll just wrap it all in. But go ahead.
Yep. You can find me on all the things by simply searching Crowjack. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat. Snap me. You were supposed to snap me, Aggelos. I thought we were going to be snap buddies.
Oh, well, I did, but I didn't know if you really wanted more bananas in your life after going for Legendary Pirate.
Oh, we hit that today, by the way.
Yeah, I noticed.
God, hundreds and hundreds of hours. Oh, my God.
Yeah, dirty jokes. And, of course, I got to thank my co-hosts who are here each and every week. We got Alpha Soul, who does content creation as well, amazing videos, and of course Storms Lord and his own development studio, Digital Piper Studios. You can find links to their stuff in the description of this podcast. Same with myself. That's where you can find us. And of course, if you're interested in checking out the DCN Guild Hands of Fate, we have a link in the description, handsoffateaoc.com. You can follow everything we do over at dungeoncrawlernetwork.com. There you can find links to all of our social media, including Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Be sure to check out our Patreon program at patreon.com/dungeoncrawlernetwork if you want to help support us and the show. You can also leave us a review on iTunes so people know that we are a real podcast, that we say real words, and sometimes they matter. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of From the Ashes, and we'll see you next time. See you later, everybody.